Often, the idea of a side quest is to act as a temporary distraction from the story. However, when these two things come together to inform one another, the effect can be incredibly rewarding. Spoilers, as from here on out we'll be talking about major plot points and finales, so consider yourself warned. That being said, I'm Cy for WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 video game side quests that impact the main story in a major way. Number 10, Queen of the Highway, Cyberpunk 2077. The main storyline of Cyberpunk 2077 is easily its strongest suit, partly because of how seamlessly it blends with everything else you do in the game. The title's finale is pretty much entirely focused on V's deal with Arasaka. The player needs to decide if they want to help Hanako Arasaka take down her brother, or let Johnny take over your body to find Hanako's brother without her. The important thing here is that depending on who you helped throughout the game, your decision might come with additional options and outcomes. This is especially interesting in the case of Panam and her side job, Queen of the Highway. The mission has you help her nomad family, the Aldecaldos, repel a corpo raid on their camp. If you manage to leave a good impression on Panam, the nomad will not only help you in the final mission, but also let you join the Aldecaldo by the end of it. This is the only way to end the game as a nomad, and let's be real, who wouldn't want to become a Mad Max type raider alongside a badass like Panam? Number 9, Lords of War, Wasteland III. Wasteland 3, like many isometric RPGs, is very mindful of all player choices. It's not uncommon that the game can surprise you with some unexpected consequences derived from your past actions, including a murderous spin on the game's final mission. The main objective of Wasteland 3 is to find the 3 missing children of Colorado's leader, the Patriarch. However, you can also do a bunch of side quests in the meantime, some of which give you more insight and options regarding the situation in Colorado. In the side quest Lords of War, the player sneaks into the Patriarch's underground compound to discover his dirty secret. A ruthless raider by the name of Ironclad Cordite. Cordite explains that the Patriarch was supplying his gang with weapons and slaves in exchange for not attacking his settlement. At that point, the player can recruit Cordite into their team to try and expose the Patriarch. However, you can also help the Cordite rebuild his raider army and then storm Colorado Springs in the final mission with the not so lofty ambitions of murder and plunder. There's nothing like a quick side quest to turn your team of heroes into a team of monsters. Number 8, Strauss missions, Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. The world of Vampire the Masquerade is ripe with political intrigue and dark puppeteers orchestrating everyone's fate behind the scenes. It's only fair that the player also have a chance to get in on that action. The game's 3 main endings have the player decide between joining the Camarilla, the Anarchs, or defying both sects and going their own way. The primary Camarilla ending is easily the worst in the game, as it involves you and the sect's insane prince getting blown to smithereens by a bomb set up in his office. Luckily for you, if you want to side with Camarilla but not end up becoming bloody wall decor, the game does include a special alternative ending where Camarilla's enigmatic regent, Strauss, becomes the new prince and makes the sect a force to be reckoned with. All you have to do is finish a few side quests that make the regent more trusting of you. First, you need to help him secure his power in the city by getting rid of a plague, and after that, if you help him defeat a gargoyle that's been a sore in his clan's reputation, at the end of the game Strauss will be strong and trusting enough to conspire with you to take over the Camarilla. Number 7, Ally Missions, Alpha Protocol. Alpha Protocol is a 2010 role-playing game about spies, black op teams, and other Jason Bourne types of things. The game's story revolves around the main character, Michael Thornton, as he travels around the world solving delicate issues for the government. However, depending on your actions throughout the different missions you can pick up in the game, his adventures may not be a purely solo experience. Where you choose to travel and which missions you focus on can change the game's storyline pretty drastically. For example, a character may become your ally or your enemy if you decide to do certain things out of order, or if you gain enough intel about them prior to meeting them. If you bother to play with this mechanic enough, both your friends and your enemies can provide to be invaluable resources during the final act of the game. Your allies can be called in to do favours for you at this point, and if you're clever enough, you can even trick some of your enemies into attacking your final target by setting yourself up as bait. It's the kind of spy work that would make even James Bond look like a complete amateur. Number 6, choosing the new divine, Dragon Age Inquisition. It's not every day that a game allows you to meddle with the politics of its world. It's even rarer when it gives you a chance to elect the next pope. Actually, there's probably only one game that lets you do the latter, and that's Dragon Age Inquisition. Yes, in this title, one of the most pivotal choices the player can make is electing the new divine for the Church of Andraste. The decision is made based on their interactions with the 3 candidates in their organisation throughout the story. However, the player can also significantly boost Cassandra and Vivian's chances at becoming the next divine by completing special operations at the war table. Most war table operations may feel inconsequential to the story, but in the case of these 2 missions, the impact they have is as grand grand as it can possibly get. Completing one divine operation can instantly change the power dynamic in the Church of Andastre and let your favourite candidate ascend to the throne without much competition. For this reason, you should probably pay attention to which operation you choose, otherwise you might end up with an angry warmongering Cassandra ruling your church with an iron fist. Number 5. Investigate doomed commercial area, Disco Elysium. Disco Elysium is basically built around the idea that every single choice and action you make can have a greater consequence. Even the tiniest, seemingly useless decisions find their way into the main storyline and can drastically change what happens. A perfect example of this is an early side quest where the player helps a bookstore owner figure out if her store is cursed. The quest may seem like a waste of time, if not a downright distraction from your main detective duties, but going along with the owner's superstition can actually become an important part of your primary investigation. In the quest, player character Harry needs to venture out into an abandoned commercial area where instead of a ghost or a demon, you come across a huge industrial fridge that is big enough to fit a human in. That might sound like an odd thing to say about a fridge, and yes, it is, but only up until the point where Harry discovers a dead body in his main investigation and then needs to find a way to keep it fresh. If you did the side quest and found the fridge before finding the body, the solution to Harry's problem is obvious. Otherwise, you'll probably have to improvise. Number 4. The Magical Ribbon, Witcher 3. The side quests in Witcher 3 blend so easily with the main story that it's easy to forget they're not actually a part of it. This said, the choices you make in side quests rarely matter for Geralt's primary objectives. That is, unless you're playing the Blood and Wine DLC. The DLC's finale requires the player to decide if they should let the vampire Detlef confront Syanna about using him to take her revenge on her sister. If the player lets the two see each other, Detlef will always try to kill Syanna and cause Geralt to get thrown in jail. However, there is a way to make Syanna survive the encounter with Detlef. It's just a matter of taking a small detour while Geralt goes looking for her in her magical fairy tale prison. Inside the fairy tale world, Geralt can come across a little girl who holds Syanna's ribbon. Syanna will comment on how the ribbon has sentimental value to her, at which point the player may try to get it for her by buying it off the little girl or playing a round of Gwent for it. It may seem like a simple act of kindness, however, when Syanna meets Detlef with the ribbon, the item will actually allow her to teleport back to the fairy tale world before Detlef can kill her. Don't let anyone ever tell you that playing Gwent is a waste of time. Number 3. For Auld Lang Syne, Fallout New Vegas. The companions in Fallout New Vegas are some of the most memorable characters in the entire series. Whether it's the depressed NRC sniper, the cybernetic dog, or even the super mutant granny, each and every one of these has a well-developed backstory with something unique to offer. The same goes for Arcade Gannon, the snarky director from the Followers of the Apocalypse. Though he may not look extraordinary on the outside, the man is actually an ex-member of the Enclave, the remnants of the old US government. In fact, if your affinity with Arcade is high enough, Arcade may even help you recruit his old Enclave buddies to aid you in the final battle at Hoover Dam. The quest for Auld Lang Syne is a special companion mission that lets the player use Arcade's old connections to turn the tide of New Vegas' pivotal battle to their liking. The quest is entirely optional, but if you manage to complete it, Enclave's remnants will actually show up at Hoover Dam and completely annihilate your enemies with their vertibird and high-tech weaponry. It's good to have friends in high places. Number 2. Limb Clinic Chip Upgrade, Deus Ex Human Revolution. The rules of game design dictate that doing more things should yield greater rewards. The developers of Deus Ex Human Revolution seem to follow a slightly different philosophy, as one of the game's side missions actually penalises you for completing it instead of making your life easier. At one point in the game, main character Adam experiences odd visual glitches caused by a fault in his cybernetic system. This prompts a special side mission in which you visit a limb clinic and get a free chip upgrade that gets rid of the glitches. The mission is entirely optional, and at first glance it may seem completely irrelevant to the grander scheme of things. However, the difference between getting the chip and foregoing the procedure actually plays a pretty significant role later in the main storyline. When the player confronts one of the Illuminati's leaders, Zhao, it turns out that the free chip upgrade has a kill switch, which allows Illuminati members to forcibly turn off the cybernetics of anyone who gets it. If Adam underwent the procedure, Zhao would turn off his augments, making the subsequent fight with her henchmen significantly more difficult. As if the world needed more reasons to hate hospitals. And number 1, companion missions, Mass Effect 2. Companion missions in Mass Effect 2 are probably the best example of how taking a moment to do something outside of your main agenda can actually impact your primary objective in a major way. The companions of Mass Effect are one of the most well-known aspects of the series. They are Shepard's loyal crew who would follow them to the end of the galaxy and back. That is, unless you're playing Mass Effect 2, in which case the trip back is purely dependent on how loyal your companions truly are. Because the finale of Mass Effect 2 is a suicide mission in which Shepard and their crew need to be in perfect sync with each other in order to stay alive. How well organised and competent each member of your team is depends on whether or not you took the time to build rapport with them and help them with their own personal issues. This means that if you didn't feel like spending the time to do your companion's side missions, your final battle against the Reapers might end up being an absolute slaughter of your team, including even Shepard themselves. See, even in the distant future, it's important to be a team player. And speaking of NPCs that you should be nice to, why not check out this video on screen now for 10 video game NPCs that you should never kill. Make sure you like this video, leave a comment down below on any other examples of side quests that affect the overall plot of a game. Head over to WhatCulture.com for more content every day. I've been Cy for WhatCulture, and have a good week.